All right, we are almost done for the week. We have one more day left to get some money out of this market. And so we'll look at the charts and see how we did today. We'll do a little bit of a recap on some of the hot movers, or at least what I was finding as a hot mover for me. And then we'll look at what we have ahead for tomorrow in the market. We have one more day before we close, so let's make it a profitable day. If you find my videos helpful and you're not already subscribed, I do hope that you would join us by subscribing. Always, if you find the information I'm providing helpful, leave a comment, like the video. It's all great support for me. As long as you guys are showing up and finding these beneficial, it is my pleasure to keep coming back with more videos. So yeah, thanks for all the support already, guys. Shout out to one Discord user who reached out to me and I did some work with her and on the one-on-one and she took a put. And the funny thing about the put story is that I don't think she had ever taken a put. And so she was like, "How do I take a put?" And I was like, trying to explain it. And then we did a one-on-one. And so we went through what she needs to look for. But I can tell that something clicked on that last session because it was all about her entry and exit. And I think she noticed something in her trades that she had taken prior to our session. And she went back and tweaked it. And before closing, she's messaging me telling me, "Hey, I took a put in SBUX and I didn't even have that one on my watch list." So she took a put, her first put, got over 121%. And so shout out to you, Blessing. That's your Discord name for that successful trade and also for trusting me to help you on your journey. I really appreciate it. All right, so let's get into some of these charts and look at what we have ahead for tomorrow. So one of my big chatters for today was on UNH, right? So I did take UNH easy trade in my opinion, and I had downside targets already mapped out. So let's see, our trade plan was one I did alert, hey, it's going to be a bit of a high risk because here there was a order block that needed to be cleared. And so I knew that it would be a bit tricky to push all the way down here, but I had some confidence in my trade. And you think about a few things here. One, UNH didn't do very well with earnings. They missed here 8%, barely beat revenue. So not good. There was already news around this company again. They got reduced price targets, just all negative right now for UNH. And so I know a few people are like, should we buy now? Should we buy now? Let's look at it. Let's talk about it. Let's see where we are with UNH. I'm going to quickly break down my trade plan that we took in the Discord. I'm going to take some of this off. Let's take this, this, and okay, we'll leave it at that. So let's go to the daily chart. Now, UNH ended up on my watch list again because we were talking about it. I think it was in Chris Saint's Discord. And I just didn't have I just don't see that even if it did this right here, right, yesterday, that we were going any higher with UNH, but you always be prepared. So when you're creating a trade plan, make sure that you have a bullish scenario and make sure that you have a bearish scenario. News can drop that can start to move it in a different direction, or, you know, people may just decide to pile in it for whatever reason, and you don't want to be caught off guard because you were in one mindset. So I try to always come with a scenario that the stock is going to go up and what that would look like in a scenario if the stock is going to go down and what that will look like. That helps me to not be so overly stuck in one direction to where I'm not able to reverse that stock that I'm already monitoring and take the opposite trade. I have a trade plan that says, hey, this or that. Well, in this case, I really felt like for UNH to be really bullish, they would need to really try to reclaim maybe like 266, 268. So that was kind of a watch for me. But ultimately, here's what happened. As you can see, UNH was down $16.48. We actually ended up losing the previous day low. And I was already looking at this candle here from their earnings, and I did see like, hey, if we're below the price of this candle, and we're gonna lose previous A low. We're coming down some more. Where did I get 248? Because I've been saying 248.88 since we looked at the chart, I think yesterday. Well, look at this candle here. Always look to the left. If you look to the left, you're going to find some clues of where we could potentially be going. So let's look to the left. What do we have here? We have this candle from May 15th at closing at 248.88. So I've actually had 248.88 on my chart for quite a while. But of course, after we did this, this was a order block created here. Actually, it was here from some time ago. And so UNH did a complete run up, all leading up to their earnings, and then they began to pull back ahead of earnings. Well, since that May low, again, they've been up and they've come full circle. And look at what we did. We went back to this wick right here. So we actually closed at 249.56, but the low of this particular candle today was 247.75. Now I'm out the trade at I think over 300% profit, right? It actually would have given more because my exit was around this 251, yeah, 251.89, and we can look at that from a smaller time frame. Once it got here, trade was done for me. So I did miss, I think I maybe caught a little bit, I don't remember, I missed all of this. I was out here, somewhere around here, and the trade did this little arc, this move right here, and then it pulled back to my target. I always thought my target was going to hit, but I was had to close it on a break and get back to work. So, with that being said, UNH just doesn't look good to me. I'm not convinced until it really starts to get back above maybe like the 260s. So, how did I take the trade? Well, a few things I always tell you is measure your previous day high and low. That was done. We also look at our pre-market levels, so that was also done. So if you look at this, easy trade right at the break of pre-market low. So we open with this candle here, right at pre-market low, and then we got this candle right under pre-market low. If you can see this candle right here, we're below my 200. We're also below pre-market low. And so it was just an easy trade to take from there. And so it really wasn't even a retest of this pre-market low that has played out. We just kept going down all the way to target. So again, I think for UNH, if we can look at, let's go to the monthly. Let's slow down a bit so we can look at where we are. All right, on the monthly chart, obviously we've cleared the low of June, which was 294.11. And now we've cleared the low, or we're at the low. We haven't cleared it yet. We're at the low of May, which was 248.88. So even if you're looking on the monthly chart, you can start to get an idea because again, we haven't been here since 2020. This was the last time we were here before those candles in May, and then the one for this month happened. Okay. So now we're challenging all that because we're below these candles in price. And if we look here, I was trying to figure out what candle could we challenge next if we stay below 248. I did see this candle here in December of 2018 where we had a low of 231.81. So I put that there, but I'm thinking ultimately if we look at it, we can come somewhere around 238. That's a pretty bearish scenario to put together, but that just is me believing that there's some more lower levels. And if I map this out for where we can go to grab liquidity, I would probably put it right here because I'm following my arc. Um, and I would stick it about right here to where we have this inverse arc and then this move to the upside here from here. So yeah, we can come to probably challenge that out. So I'll clear my chart up. I'll be mapping out previous day high and low, but my main watch will be whether or not we respect 248.88. If we start to get back under 248.88 from where we are, then yes, anticipate some additional pullbacks. And so I'll keep looking at some lower levels from there. But yeah, that's the story on UNH. I would not be buying here if you can find a better entry zone. One, we'd have to reverse and start to create some order blocks from a smaller time frame. But if you look here, even 236 starts to make sense when we start to get into this order block right here. And if we haven't tested that since like 20, when did we test this? 2019, 2020? Then yeah, that's where we would probably come next. And that's maybe where you would look to build a position if we hold there. And that's why I'll go ahead and set my alerts. I'm going to clean all this off because I mean, none of it really matters to me outside of the 248 on my chart. This was all good for day trades. But from where we are now, I'm gonna even put this back at another point. I'm gonna leave that 231.71 on my chart, and then I'm gonna create an alert around 236.80 on UNH. And that's the story. If we get here and you start to see that's where we start to get buyers interested again in UNH and a strong reversal, that's when you start to consider your investments because again, this is a big opportunity if you believe in the company long term. We finally are back at prices we haven't seen since 2020, 2019. This is opportunities in the market. So just don't front run it. If you're going to build positions, I mean, if you feel like this is a good area to build, buy shares. But I would not go into long options just yet on UNH without it proving that it's truly on an uptrend. So yeah, that's the story on UNH. Was a great trade for us today. Let's take a look at Tesla. Can you guys tell I'm starting to actually like Tesla for, I think, One Direction and its charts. I'm not the biggest fan of the company, even though I believe in what they're doing is powerful and it's just some ethics just bother me. Same thing with UNH and healthcare. So that's another story for another day. At the end of the day, we're here to make money. So if we look at this chart here on Tesla, look at the 4 hour. Hold on, sorry. Look at the 4 hour in Tesla. We are right at our 200 in a pretty narrow state on the 4 hour chart. But if you look here, this candle is completely off of our 200. We're not even touching it with the wick. That's not good. So remember, I was telling you guys what to look for in Tesla. Once Tesla started to pull back on the smaller time frame, my next alert to the group was to watch 315. Watch that area here. And what happened was after it lost this, which this is my anchor VWAP from earnings, and I always add that just to kind of keep track of another layer of what price is doing. From losing this anchor VWAP, we've already fallen under our 12 on the 5 minute, I'm sorry, our 200 here. And then we also were closing candles under our 12. It just became an easy trade so even if you got in at the 315, we were able to get as low as 306, 306.10. Very cool trade. I think it may be a little bit lower post market. I'll have to check it out later. But yeah, that's just Tesla just looks like it's still pulling back. Ultimately, where you want to see this stock land is holding around 300. You want to see it respect this candle here. If not this candle, look again to the left to where we would find our next low, which is around 341 cents. If that doesn't hold, you probably remember me screaming 284.58. I'm not moving it off my chart. We may still come back there. And so that would be a pretty cool move all the way back to what is here, which is demand. And so we'd watch Tesla once it pulls back into this zone here to see if this is where we start to find some support. Right now, there's not very much that I can find that says we're not done pulling back on Tesla. So in my opinion, I didn't take Tesla today because UNH and QQQ was enough. I still think there is opportunities down for Tesla. And where you really want to be able to buy in and start building a longer position is in these lower areas here. So just watch for that. Watch what we do if we do get back to 284.58. Ultimately, though, we need to hold around 300. That's the next key support. If we don't hold around 300, look for 294.68 maybe, a little bit lower. You can look around there for 289 and then 284. And then we have to see what we're doing if we were to get to this lower level. We've been here before. We were here in June. We were here in May. So the story in Tesla is I am not convinced yet that they are trying to go up. In fact, I'm seeing more signals confirming that we're not getting back to this area yet. We got to come back and pull some demand down here. So look to see what we do. I mean, maybe we maybe they prove me wrong and they do something special. That would have to be truly based on news, in my opinion. I think Tesla would need some really good news to do anything special. Otherwise, I don't see why we're not going to get back to the 280s. And again, that is also dependent on if we lose the 300s. QQQ, very cool trade. QQQ hit another all-time high if you've been following. So let's take a look at where we were. So obviously, with this ETF being so heavy, so tech heavy, when Meta and Microsoft is all pumping, it also did a great pump. We also had Nvidia moving up um, post market from the earnings hype of those. And so, yeah, let's look at where what we did for QQQ today. It actually was a pretty easy trade, right? So if you just looked at QQQ from pre-market levels to start off with, and I think in the video I shared, I specifically said that the next target from where we were post-market would be to challenge this 272.11. So that's what I posted in Discord early this morning, is just to watch 572.11. Okay. After 572.11, we're going to come back and challenge this high. So that's the high of this candle, 570.62. Well, we did that, lost that, came back down, and we challenged right at the low. So this is where it's cool to keep up a previous day high and low. So not only did we lose the candle high here and the low, ultimately we lost Wednesday's high and low, high point, and we came right to Wednesday's low. And we even wicked right under it. So now we have to wonder, that's a very strong pull off from that last all-time high. What are we looking for next on QQQ? I think it just has to one start with, do we hold above 565.05? Because as you can see, we close at 565.01. And if we're not going to hold there, then yeah, we're probably going to come back down a little bit more on QQQ, especially with Friday being a potential take profit day. We also have all of this talk on tariffs. I think the extension ends tomorrow, right? So there's a lot happening that could influence this particular ETF. But how did we take the trade? Let's go back and just do a quick review, recap of the QQQ trade. It was pretty easy. I closed 100 plus percent, but it definitely probably could have gave a little bit more. So we're going to turn on pre-market for just a moment, extended hours for just a moment. And similar to what you seen when I was telling you about the UNH trade, it was just easy. We lost pre-market high. We did not hold or come back even to test it in a retest. Just completely a downtrend. So, if you're a new trader and you see green candles, you might start thinking, oh, I made the wrong move. But sometimes you really got to just let your stop loss prove you wrong. If you don't get stopped out of your trade and the direction continues, you're not scared of these green candles. What you want to do is as you start to hit targets, you need to start to move your stop loss. You need to start to scale down if you have multiple contracts. So as you hit a target, and we move back. See this little pop right here because this was one of your targets. In fact, this might have been my move out as we started to get here think that might have been what I did, but look at all the move I missed. And I had time. I don't do ODTEs because again, when you're working and you don't have time to do any of that, you have to trust your stop loss and you take profit. So I don't do ODTEs. I just follow take profit, let the charts do itself, let my trade do what it's going to do. In this case, it actually got me out a little bit too soon because I should have re-entered. But again, if you're working, that may not happen. But this was a very satisfying move just in itself. This would have just been a next bonus leg. You could have rinsed and repeat on QQQ. And shout out to one of our Discords in the Wolf Pack that was able to do this move and then do another repeat here. That's pretty good. Anyway, QQQ, I think we may get some more pullback. Again, if the tariff news is not what the market wants to hear, if we get a take profit Friday, there could still just be a chance that we're going to come back and test some more support. So I'll just keep that on watch. Let's put Pro on here. We move back to the cloud. Let's get into some smaller time frames. Okay, here's what we have demand on QQQ. When I look at it from my 3 hour with my wolf chart, I'm seeing that we actually hit demand right here at 564. Doesn't mean that we can't keep pulling back. It just means that that could be a bumpy ride down if we're going to come back maybe as low as 558. But we'll have to see what Friday gives. I did not keep anything open. I like to see how we open up the next day. So that's QQQ. What was another on our chat for today? Apple. Let's look at Apple extended hours. And so Apple had earnings, and look what we did for earnings on Apple. They gapped up post earnings as high as five. I'm sorry, five. Where am I getting five? As high as 215.28. Um, and then based on where this ended, they wrapped up at 212.57. So I think Apple looks good the way the market reacted. Obviously, it's not like a grand move. Like I never expect Apple to just do crazy numbers. Now, what I'll be watching for is now that we know how they perform post-market from their earnings, I'm looking to see if we can finally get to where we're holding above 215. So even if we're down somewhere pre-market or tomorrow, if I'm going to take this off my chart, we'll anchor a VWAP to the earnings candle and then we'll just see how that rides out. But yeah, Apple, it's been one that's tested our patience. I'm going to do a little bit on catching up on how they reported for earnings. And then if we're holding on Apple and we can start to break above 215, we really have a chance to finally get back to the 220s and go from there. I think that you should, if you have Apple and you've been patient with it, you should be opening up green. Now, the tricky one here was Amazon. Amazon was not a winner after reporting their earnings. So where Apple is up post-market $4, Amazon did not do that. Amazon is was down quite a bit actually. And so I hope no one d decided to hold that. They're down like 15, $16. In Apple's case, this is a good sign, and we just need to see how they perform tomorrow. But let's go into Amazon real quick since I mentioned Amazon. And Amazon is currently, I did some liquidity mapping. Let me clean this all up. Okay, Amazon is now at $16 from where they closed, down $16 from where they closed. They're at 218. And so what we were looking for is we wanted Amazon to get back up here. Right now, with them being at 218, they've fallen below all of this here, which is all bullish order blocks that you would think would hold the price up. And post market, they're at 218. So now what we're going to have to watch is how we open up. And if we're starting to fall below 218, then I think there's still 214 in the play, and we can even get down as low as 210. I think I'm going to have Amazon on my watch for puts if we get that confirmation at opening. Going to keep it as simple as following my wolf chart, but also layering in the pre-market high and low. As you can see from the trades that we looked at with QQQ and Tesla, that played out. I mean, UNH, that played out very well. And with Tesla, losing pre-market was enough to show you. You can even see it here if you look at extended hours on Amazon, what happened when we lose pre-market. So this was Amazon um, today. This would have been opening. They gapped down right at opening, good $3, and then they had a little bit of move up, and they stayed pretty much for the rest of the day under pre-market. So take that same plan when you trade tomorrow, and it's a really great guidance to just use pre-market high and low. Shout out to Sean the Wolf for that tip because it has been a game changer for me. Roblox. All right. So they had earnings, and as you know, if you've seen it on my socials or in Discord, crazy gap up on Roblox. And my whole thing about Roblox is my kids love it. They're always wanting what is it, Robux? And so if I can make some money off of something they like and then make my money back from what I'm paying to get what they like, why not? So in this case, we gapped up like so we closed here at 124.94. They posted earnings pre-market and they were as high as 150. Okay. Just last year, the stock, if you just pull it back a little bit, just last year we were talking about Roblox when it was here. Actually lower. Yeah, lower here in this area when we're looking at 40s and 50s, then it's going to 70s and 80s. And then we get a nice opportunity when it pulls back, and it went on an insane run from there. Roblox has been on fire. And again, the kids love it. So it's just like buying Nike and stuff. Like if you can find a way to make money off of a stock that your kids spend your money on, do it. But yeah, look at it from here, from April, right? And the wolf chart, it just doesn't lie when we get our inverse arc. And if you trade off the wolf chart, you already know. Let me hide pro for just a second. All right, we get our inverse arc right here. We get the 12 crossing the 200 up right here. We ride this all the way up from, let's see, maybe we're getting in at April, even if you got in after April. This train did not stop. It did not stop. Took a few little breathers, came back and tested the 12. That's expected. I mean, it was off the 12, just running. So from grabbing it in the 50s from April's lows and holding it until 150, we're just talking shares. We're not even talking long calls and options. You would win. Your kids could have Robux for the rest of the year. Okay. So that's what you have to think about in investing. So again, amazing run on Robux. When we were watching it, we had a few things that I was sharing. I think you can probably see it here. I put out that we needed to get back above 121, and I had an alert set. And so as we got, and you can see it right here. This is where we were looking. About 122 actually. So somewhere around here is where we wanted it to get back. And so it actually started peaking above that yesterday, which had my attention and gave me the sentiment, okay, this might do what it's going, have a big move. Now they had a miss here, but look at how much your kids are spending on Robux. Look, $268 million. They beat revenue by 13%. Insane. And so again, look at how much you're spending probably buying these kids Robux. Invest in it. So don't miss the next opportunity when this stock is pulling back. So let's just look at something real quick. They did beat their all-time high, or at least get to it, which was 141.60, and then this candle gave a 150.59. They closed at 137.79. So under the high of this candle, it's worth watching. It's worth watching to see if we maybe hold 132.95. But I would even say somewhere right here. We'll look at the body of this candle or the wick of this candle right here. That is at 130.74 to be exact. I'm going to set an alert there. See what we do at 130.74. Since we closed under the highest candles price, high point, which was 141.60, and we are closing at 137.79. So I will be watching to see if it will pull back to 130.74. If it doesn't, you just keep mapping it out from a lower time frame to see where you can find the entry. If you're bullish on it, let the dust settle. As you can see, as soon as we were opening up, they were taking profits. So this rejection at all-time high led to this pullback here. So although we didn't lose pre-market low, it doesn't mean you couldn't trade it. At the point we kept rejecting here at pre-market high, we didn't break that high. That's your opportunity to short. It's just risky because of how much of a move up they made. That's where you just have to trust your stop loss. But you could have taken a trade from here all the way down to where they close, and that would have been actually profitable post earnings. So there's opportunities even after earnings post to find a trade. Reddit is up from earnings. We have a few other stocks that are up from earnings. Game plan for tomorrow is going to be pretty easy. Looking for shorts on Tesla, but I'll have a scenario for both. Looking for opportunities for continuation on Amazon. You're just going to play that easily again with your strategies. And I may take a little bit more time tonight to see if there's any movers. Oh, I did want to cover one more thing that I think you should put your attention to. You guys have to leave comments on what's on your watch list so I can squeeze those in. I'm kind of just going by what I've been seeing, but if there's something else that's on your watch list, let me know. I'm probably going to do a little bit of screening, but what I wanted to show you is, well, while we're here, let's look at our calendar. Going into tomorrow, we do have some government's payroll, manufacturing payroll, non-farm payroll, non-farm payrolls private. So there is data tomorrow that you should be on the lookout for. Interesting. So there's construction data, manufacturing data, but that's what I wanted to show you. Greener. I was looking at my heat map midday, and where do we see green? We saw green under products manufacturing. So as you can see, most of the market today, we got a lot of red in the sectors. Healthcare was down. Finance was down quite a bit, more red than you see green. Tech was down from a pullback. The only thing standing out here is obviously the big dogs, Microsoft, Meta. Amazon had a little bit of a pop pre-earnings. And I'm wondering if the sentiment on Amazon is going to be any type of signal for what we might experience with the rest of retail as they post any earnings. But anyway, what I wanted to look at was the producer manufacturing sector. And as you can see, even midday, there was quite a few of these that were up. So I just would say, when we're seeing the money rotate around, to take a look and see what's green, pull out your heat map and see, like if you're not looking to trade push, you're not comfortable with that, maybe you can take a moment to see where there is money flowing. And I did notice that these were actually doing pretty well. I didn't check to see what they were doing post, but even on a pullback, it's kind of worth it to see what's happening in that sector that kept them green most of today. Do we have money rotating over in this sector, they've been red most of the week for quite a few of them, and now we're getting pops. But Deere was up 2%. Again, I don't know. I haven't done my research. I plan to do it tonight. Over a course of 3 months, these are up. Look at GV, 68%, CAT, 37%, ETN, 30%. I think it's worth it to keep an eye on Doosan Manufacturing, especially if you're looking to add to your portfolio in a different sector. This might be one to watch. But yeah, I just wanted to call that to your attention. Just remember to always keep up with your heat maps, even if you're not using other screeners. It's a good resource to kind of point you in the right direction. You can do all companies. It looks like a big splurge of colors, but starts to pinpoint where we might have some green. So that's where I got producer manufacturing. I'm still going to keep an eye on retail and then utilities. I think ZOM has earnings soon, so look into that. But yeah, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. If there is stocks that's on your radar, just let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to do a deep dive in the next video. I'm hoping to do a little bit more of a teaching moment in a few shorter videos that I'll plan to upload maybe over the weekend. Just more beginner friendly for those that are really trying to get into trading and the basics of technical analysis. So hopefully those videos will be helpful for beginners. But again, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, and I will see you again in Discord tomorrow. Have a great evening. Bye.